야, 드네 다 다른 쇼게 대답이 드네 념주기 드네 로브르 지트마 디 시보디 드네 다 단단한 소 방자 드네 로브르 지트마 대다 드네 념보 드네 단단한 수다 따와가다 차게 시암 드네 추지 dom시라 대답은 냠술람발라 때네 드네 방니디 율때네 그봐 방니인데 때네 타르도 드네 방자스 쟤네 방와당 드네 녀보야 원도 줄바당 드네 마임바 드네 방니 니가 코랑 드네 랑돌도 치네 드네 단단한 수역에 이시암 드네 산제기 드네 천진외백이 연대된 원도 줄었네 드네 텔라데네 드네 속지고에 기타 전에 듀마체 받습니다. 탐지는 주고요. 레스.
So what we have talked about this morning is our mind is obscured by the four immediate obscurations, and the antidote for clarifying of these mental obscurations or seeing through these mental obscurations is through the application of the antidote of the four seals of the Dharma. And through the application of the antidote, based on the proper view, then when we experience the complete unfolding of Buddha nature or experience of the true nature of our mind, then self-liberation of obscuration as well as antidote. Both the self-liberation of obscuration and antidote, and therefore awakened nature of the mind manifesting. In essence, experience of emptiness, dharmakaya, and in appearance through the form kayas, spontaneous Buddha activity, manifesting spontaneous, continuous Buddha activity.
테네 대답이 그 산지게 틀레티 테네 주바메번 각바메번 심제 탐제는 주고요래 테네 대양 간데스 주고요래서나 테네 조 테네 페나 가세고레 산지게 틀레티 페나타스 두르자 테네 페나 산지게 두르제게 너단 덴바체네 추주 콜로 코르세야 안다바다 두르제 너단 덴바체네 산지게 추 페나 출은다면다 땡세한다 고이 그번다면다 땡세한다 버튼데 여러봐 텐주 창마 빼나게 심지 두르자 되게 된돌라 되네 게 되게 된데제 탑 된데제 게 땡고고 도 고네 되네 빼나 마소나 땡네 된데스네 땡바당 되네 추양 되네 된데스네 예와 체네 송고고도 bomba 된데다부 마인바 되네 고이 상와 삼제 미쳐버세한다 버튼 투지상 상와 삼제 미쳐버스 다 되네 송그 상와 삼제 미쳐버스 고송 톡 연데 체네게 되네 상와 삼제 미쳐버 땡네 되네 코라 가서오래 제조 매바당 조와라소바 매바 코라 란신 손줍게 되네 똑바 매바 간단한 주 천에 동면 로든제 세야지 간단한 주티 답이 타지나 여봐 된나 신게 똑바 매베고는 심지 탐제라 되네 주바 될라 때네 되네 가세고래 강라 강도 세야티 되네 된다데 운에 테레스 다 되게 다들 양제 독수제 시고에 좀 생각하는데 가시게 삼나 지 무소직 고니 되네 소야샤반다 버지단 게 직된베게 되네 직 산다 버세야 직 세게 동안 텐데 마이바 코란 베면 손죽 심지 탐제가 죽토바 뭐 텐데스 전했어요. 그래서 산지가 트네.
With the experience of complete awakened mind, manifesting of unobstructed Buddha activity, spontaneous, unobstructed, continuous, and in accordance with the capacities and aptitudes of beings, this does not mean that the Buddha sort of looks at beings and then recognizes that such and such beings need this kind of instruction, this kind of teachings.
쭉 죽고 동반이 똑발라 때네 단도 내 고고도 스캔이 된데 많이 봐.
Having realized emptiness or dharmakaya nature of mind, and yet still conceptualizing that such and such beings need this kind of instruction, such and such beings are capable of understanding this and that aspect of the dharma, and so in accordance with the capacities and aptitude of being teaching dharma, not in that sense. And spontaneous activity in accordance with the aptitude of beings because of non-conceptual insight. The spontaneously happening, meaning the Buddha activity, as it is also said in the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, non-conceptual Buddha activity. Beyond the conceptualization of this and that and to these beings or to other beings, unobstructed, spontaneous in that sense, free of conceptualization, free of creating, having to create in accordance with what is suitable. The spontaneity, or what is effortless and what is by nature, because of coming from non-conceptual insight, is suitable, not creating what is suitable for people.
텐데스레스 대 인도 대 손자 텐데스 좀센 텔라 때네 테네 산지게 틀레디 하고송아 테네 두단 빼나 두다 테네 가세고레 텐데게 예와 매버체네 테스도 야베나 제단게 테네 지 클라더버지감 지 가세고레 지게 다 가바이네 캡데요. 군초게 가바이네 캡데요를 해야지 동안 텐더버게 빼나 캡데요를 해야지 캡차직단 캡제기 빼나 캡아 지주직 텐데게 토네 예와 마인바게 토라 테네 좀센 텔라 테네 상제게 틀레디 테네 인생 두축라 테네 심젠 탐제라 두다 넘버 군도라 빼나 심젠게 유 데마인베게 테네 빼나 가바이나야 탐제 심정기 줄을 두던 넘버 군둘라 죽되게요. 그래서 얘나양 때네 대답이 때네 가르고고요. 그래서나 다 단다 나란 속에 소수기고 속에 때네 산지가 트네든 죽톱다 메톱다 된대게 토데 때네 자외게 단다 나란 속다 베네디 시에게요. 봐 이 가서 그래
죽되게 어렸어도 간세잖아.
다 산지가 트네디 단다 다 산지가 트네디 베네 단다 다 빼는 차시는 게 질럽는 게 요래 다게 스페셜이다. 캐나라 쓰고 그러면 컨트롤시야지다 그렇게 말다. 이게 질럽는 게다 질럽나로 나서 게 질럽나 심버지 그 뒤져다. 양 뒤준도 만나면 뒤져지게 다 텐데게 예와지 요라 봐. 텐데 마인바 인생 둘둘라 산지가 트는 죽세도 다 빼나 탐체라 되는 빼나 죽 캡되게 여봤어요. 단 죽 같은데 쓰게 요래. 대이나양 되는 대답이 그 트내게 죽바티 테네 빼나 가사 파로브게 줄라 핀투 마투티 칼라라레게 요르사나 테네 가란 수게다 조다 인지겔 오피니스 인지 시기도 텐데 그 토네 테네 가시 빼나 다 심제 만다와라 가시 빼나 랑신게 tene korang ki kala khansam ki ta 주 전탄백이 내로 하고도 받아. 근데 가시에 다는 신의 하고고야. 근데 다 rem바 넘버 나서보다 될 때는 주고요. 그래서
When we talk of Buddha activity manifesting constantly, unobstructed, and therefore constantly in the sense at all times. It's not like, as far as our experience in general of receiving teachings or receiving instructions, there is a time when we actually receive instruction. There is a time when we don't receive instruction. And there is a time when we experience a certain presence, or there is time that we don't experience. So there are, but as far as the Buddha activity is concerned, there is no time where Buddha activity does not happen. And spontaneous, constant, or unobstructed Buddha activity, it's not just a matter of day or night or particular time as opposed to other time. And so it's free from the concept of now I'm going to do, now I'm not going to do it, now I'm doing it or giving it, whatever. Beyond spontaneous, effortless, constantly manifesting, because of the experience of nature of mind, because of the non-conceptual nature of mind, not limited by conceptual thinking in that sense. And but this should not be regarded or misunderstood with the notion of some
배나 찍게 깝대버 여반다보다 캡대 여반다보지.
notion of some supreme entity like hanging over everything, those that needs to be sort of hung over, and that which hangs over everybody is not that because of non-conceptual, because if there is one that is this object and that which hangs over the subject, and this the idea of there being that which is sort of supreme entity is to be able to just hang over there. So it's conceptual. So it's because of non-conceptual wisdom point of view. And but the activity is happening at all times. Whether one appreciates but the activity happening or not in terms of ourselves, whether we benefit from it or not, whether we appreciate it or not, depends on our own openness of mind, our own level of development of our mind, and whether we have an outlook that can appreciate enlightened presence or experience in that sense, and whether we are obscured by impure outlook. So it is whether we can appreciate or not depends on ourselves. Simply because we can't appreciate, we can't experience, that is no reason for Buddha activity not happening, manifesting. Just as simple as depending on the openness of one's mind, depending on how one is able to direct one's mind at a given time, depending on one's own the development of understanding of one's mind or experience of nature of one's mind, when teachings are given on, say, ultimate meaning or absolute meaning, and same teaching given by same teacher, in that context also, some understand a lot, some understand little, some don't understand. But on the part of the teaching is not that a different teaching is being given to different people. So it's the openness or the development of mind to appreciate, whether one can appreciate or not.
배나 단다 세야데 간데지레스나 디기 예와티 배나 단다 가난도 산지기 틀레기 데네 심진 탐체는 죽세야지 여러봐 디스도 데네 초진의 셰연도 배나 다 산지기 틀레디 심진 탐체는 죽세도 산지기 배는 틀레는 죽사게 추지 꽃세나야리 산지 세야디 가세고레 찍을 여번다보지 전에 심진 탐제는 죽스전에 배나 텐데스전에 고한다보지 텐데지요레스 디텐데 말레스 배나 디 차네 제연도 지 가세고레 딱직 다 가세고레 군초 세한다보 텐데 그 차네 송번다보서 디 말레스 배나 디 틀레는 죽베 그 죽술 잠지 그 토네 배나 산지 같은데 최주고는 주고 여러 시에게 여러데 예나양 당보 응은진서리 배나 단당 안아서 최주고티 단당 안아서 암 산지에티 되네 셈니레 로스 줘바지게 믹스 다 배나 중현 찍던 죽서지도 되네 가야 요 말을 봐 하고서와 대손자인도 배나 책잠지를 때네 타도 그 따와 대단한테 충고도 써야 돼 빼면서 넣는 챔버레스 책잠지게 나는 카시에 잠지기 처음에 단 답은다고 쓰고 말을 했다. 직 답은다지 여러분. 저는 죽세연된 중견직 군초직 다 산지직 나는 지나기 시들 여버직라 만족되면다. 지금 오늘 그 산지 은진사데 최지 고텔은 전국을 최지 고테 단단 안아도랑 셈암 셈니 대변유 고텔 로스 주버직이 최지 고 가야요 말이에요. 하고서가 대인도 죽세 민동아 예나야 다다 로버트 팀에 마드비 차네도 시에게 여러봤어.
His Eminence would like to try to make this point of manifesting or the pervasive, in that sense, manifesting of pervasive, spontaneous Buddha activity, try to point this out as clear as possible. When we talk of Buddha activity, it is the appearance of Dharmakaya, true nature of mind, Dharmakaya. So, Buddha activity pervading or Buddha activity manifesting, it is possible, gives us still the idea that Dharmakaya, Buddha or Dharmakaya, is still somewhere up there, and then Buddha activity from up there pervading, sort of spreading out. And so because of words or terms that we have to use based on our conventional thinking, based on our dualistic thinking, because of the way we relate to the terms or where it is used, we could relate to thinking, okay, so the Dharmakaya up there, pervading, so-called the activity, pervading. Then, so if you view it that way, just in terms of words, or as we have to communicate through words, and then that would fall into eternalistic belief.
배나 책잠지기 톤이 텐데 마제바는 안한소 배나 시코라 단단 안한도 깨지 시야 코란 시디 디 톤이 샤고요 여러분. 간서로 출베이크 톤이 출도 톤이 시고요 여러분.
The reason that we have to talk, the way we have to talk is, we're talking from the standpoint of confusion, obscuration, so which is to say, from the standpoint of dualism. But the realization is free of dualism. So we're talking of a view, of a fruition, which is free of dualism, but with dualistic mind, trying to understand that view and experience the view in the application of the path, we, at least at the beginning stages of the path, there is a dualistic approach to the path, which when we are following the path, having to go along with the dualistic approach, we must not lose sight of the view, which when realized is the fruition. So here in this particular context, Dharmakaya is the nature of our mind. And this nature of mind, this nature of mind is beyond these traits or stains of birth or obstruction or existence.
디치도 코란게 ngoti 배나 죽밤 캬베글 내버지레스 코란을 캬베야 요마레스 캬제든 타와지레스.
This nature of mind is beyond the notion of being pervasive, beyond the notion of being a whatever that pervades, beyond the notion of
캡제 매뱅 안에 캡았을 생겼다 타니었다 버려스.
So beyond the act or the notion of pervading, that there being something to pervade and pervading, and yet for us to understand that, we have to talk in terms of pervasive, pervading. To understand that which is in itself beyond anything that could pervade or becoming pervasive. So the nature of one's mind is beyond any reference point whatsoever. And experiencing that is Dharmakaya, or experience of that is Buddha activity. So from that point of view, Dharmakaya out somewhere there, pervading, if we think in that terms, it would be incorrect. We're talking about being able to appreciate our own nature of mind, but in relationship to obscuration, we talk it in terms of reference point, sort of mirror image, in that sense.
Tendes yindu te sonza te la tene jumsen tedal tene tene sanje ki tene bana sanje ki chinle tang tene 다가는 신기 가세 올해 심진은 죽세야 당 tene sanje 다 출구 동반이지 심진 탐 출구 동반이지 심진 탐제를 캡세야게 캡세야디 tene 된다디 bana 디그 토네 다베나 캡제던 차외게 거네 캡세야 되게 다베나 가란 쪽에 다 오늘 가서 그래 책담지기 권에 많이 봐 그러나 되는 거 돈에 이나 是吧 되는 거 돈에 이나 다 시주 매버지래서 얘나양 책에 좀 빼나 다 책에 다 시에니 하코코고 여도 될 때네 아니 책담지기 돈에 다 될 세버지기 되는 냠뇨마도 생각한 간 시야 매버래서 대손자 될 좀센 될 때네 되는 거랑 저게 변에 대월식비기 닝보다 추지 꾸다 텐주지다 당 되는 제단게 거랑 저게 좀 더 현다기 된데 그 톤에 안에 파 책담직 톤에 좀 말했어.
So when
배나
we talk
뒤다리
about
잠지 말에 배나 경험수 잠지 말에 뒤 그런 예만에 되 용거요. 스틱 톤에 된데 그 도바티.
when we talk about how Dharmakaya pervades all beings, basically that which is beyond or without having anything to pervade and without pervading, that which is beyond having something to pervade and becoming pervasive, and to that we say pervasive. And it seems to be the best way to express in terms of words. As far as the experience of the nature of mind is concerned, experience of the nature of mind in itself cannot be expressed in terms. Beyond expression. It's inexpressible. And so, that experience, that nature, when we communicate in words, words meaning in dualistic terms, then we cannot communicate cannot communicate the non-dual experience. We can talk of the non-dual experience in dualistic terms. And but the main point that His Eminence still like to make is, when we talk about Dharmakaya pervades all beings, or that Buddha activity is all pervasive, spontaneous, that this must not be mistaken with eternalistic belief. And because as it has happened in the past, and it could happen at all times, based on particular preoccupations. And when an attempt is made to explain what is non-conceptual in conceptual terms, one likes to only interpret it in terms of one's own belief preoccupations. And so, if one is only going to interpret it based on one's belief preoccupation, that is going to take one much further away from the possibility of understanding. Please, questions.
Why is enlightenment so difficult? Why in the history of Tibet, it's written that very, very few monks achieve ultimate enlightenment. I would like to compare it, if I may, with Western medicine, which does save lives. Are Buddhists less compassionate or less powerful than Western doctors? The other part of the question. A few days ago, you mentioned the Kagyu lineage 95% of the way. I'd like to know why I don't go for 75 or 80. I ask this for critics.
탭사이즈 콜 나서
나.
되네 죽주랭에 자세 죽주랭에 가인 거
지금은
미국이라
미국이라를 그래서 티체제 때는 소스 배전을 하려 그래서 티체제 좀 나스 때는 멤버 진짜 그런 거 매브자티 티
그런
노조면 미스 때는 소접 투고리스 때는 남박 접 투고 말베스 노조면 때는 누바총하래 되어 베사
티 당부코 가세고
당부티 때는 산제주도 깔래하고 된다 간데레서
산제주도 깔래하고 산제주도 깔래하고 임베 준센티 근데 산제의 타 니다 쳐다네 될 때는 산제의 깔래하고 그래서 당부 값을
first
산제의 랑글라고 요다 녀주도 마선 차네
나
녀주도 마선 차네 소소랑 타 니다 될 때는 그래서
first is enlightenment is difficult because Buddha is too close to you. Buddha is in the palm of your hand, is another way of saying. And so you neglect it. You neglect the Buddha in the palm of your hand.
This is like when I'm yours your man
And but that doesn't mean it's in your hand. Means
베나 산제티
yes.
산제티 나네 대한게 베나 나네 좋고요. 레스팅하란소 베나 투던 넘버 건도로 가르치네 칠라. 되네 가세고래 다땡 거 봤는데 들을 때네 레스.
Having to depend on words, so we would say that enlightenment is to happen from within your mind. Neglecting that resourcefulness and our pattern of mind is constantly that being out there and craving, depending, relying on what lacks in the source of enlightenment and failing to recognize one's own ability to experience.
되네 산제 베나 산제 망부 중마주스 로규 중마주직 세기도와 디 타직도 따차란 게 간데스니 세기 용에 하고 오면도스 얘나야 되네 산지기 송반에 파테바 점지긴데 던데레스 전에 세 샬투고메스 나다 간다와마도 가사기 미틱 송어레스 데 인도 되는 데산제 요르던 데산제요 마레스 kana tishe tugu mares
산제와 조제요스는 숨기만
mares tenga sanje yus chene betana chilo jogni chapta tan tendes chene jugu mares akosonga tendes res yenaya ane nyomongbati simjeng sona bana marikpal tene tende nyunga yore sanje bata majeba chene majeba chene majeba nyungu yore yenaya san meba tende changa nyungu tende mares.
And with regard to how many have attained enlightenment in history, experienced enlightenment, His Eminence would like to think yes, many who have attained enlightenment, but it is awfully difficult to keep a census of enlightened ones. He will guarantee you they are not going to go around running around saying, I'm enlightened, you know. And so Shakyamuni Buddha himself had said, only if you yourself are fully enlightened, you know of others whether they are enlightened or not. Beyond that, simply by looking at, you couldn't tell whether someone is enlightened or not.
Bena ngaranzu bena 가서고래 다째단 기토네 샤이바 이나양 베나 독스타 연두 다가 소수기고 담아봐 가야매봐 베나 듀그토 듀매봐 가야매봐라 나한게 토네 냠내는 안게 당부체 되비 싫어요 그래서 베나 샘둥그 토네 대비나 오늘 냠내는 그 토네 잡이는 들이 싫어요 그래서
간지 건 때네 빼
지그 토네 대비나 하장게 두고 다섯 치에서 가야 매봐. 들라도 간가 여섯 말에 삼bat은서 나한게 냠용 그 돈에 삼지 못 되거든요. 근데요. 그래서 대선자인데 시에톱 갈래 가고 싶다래스. 아니 시에톱 갈래 가고 그러나 마체베 삼지 못 되거든요. 중요하래스.
Who is enlightened is difficult to say, difficult to find. And especially the way we would view, it would make it even more difficult to know who is enlightened. And that is, for instance, someone who is in material terms having nothing, no possessions, nothing, and in social terms doesn't fit anywhere in society, in social terms. And so someone who looks very much an outsider to the conventional society could very well be highly realized. In appearance, very deprived. And in essence,
근데 여래스 시에버쯤 말 것이 여래스.
completely full. And this is not a legend. You know, there are a number of such people right now. So, again, if you are looking out for someone, you know, with a lot of flair as a sign of, enlightened, then
대선자 텐데스레 테네 더버조고 산지 좀 되는다고 테네 베나 세상 손이 베지 지단게 용라게 다 로줄을 타고 그 덤버텐서 베나다 내주 카가레스 베나 나란 속에 오늘게 가상의 시에는 신리 샘지 내루디 양타고 또 투버디 산지 문에레스 텔로스 투비지 산제스 카요
anyone who has experienced the nature of one's mind is experience of Buddhahood. And if you have experienced Buddhahood, realize the nature of your mind, it does not necessarily mean you are bound to manifest as a historical Buddha. You see. So you don't have to come out as a historical Buddha. You see. Marked with all the physical marks of enlightenment and and there have been and there are continuing to be many beings who are enlightened. But comparatively, those who are enlightened and who are unenlightened, obviously, much more unenlightened beings than enlightened.
테네 저 숨버티 대답자단게 코라 매승에디 테네 줄루샤라라 테네 매승에디 고게 여러바스 테네 베나티 소쪽 테네 티 소쪽 투바지다 테네 자웨그 레라라레 그레스 레라라레 그레 매승에디 테네 베나 강한 펜바 이나야 띵징지레 마도 텔 로스 조베지게 닝지스 카요 마레스 강게 톤에 펜바 줍투바데 닝지레스 베나
거기 쓰지디 테네 능베기 테네 소쪽투 요 마레스 치제 능적 맹 소쪽투 요리스 테네 테능 못지 치제 맨레 테네 니바충요 요리스
텐데라 아이 베나 다 샘드응 톤에 텐데스 요리스 낭백 냠넨 때네 샘드응 톤에 펜투바 간지티 치게 베나 맹게 톤에 접토야 시라면 동아 텐데 톤에 치게
With regard to the other one about the medicine and as far as saving or protecting someone's life, it is that which has prominent, more predominant say in living and dying, experience of life and death is more one's karmic pattern than treatment, medicine or treatment. And if treatment, medicine saves life, then it should save everybody's life. Firstly, it's only limited to curing physical ailments. And so temporary ailments or sicknesses. Second of all is the purpose of applying medical treatment at all is that because of the way of ripening of certain karma and in connection with circumstances, that the ripening could be affected differently. But yet the stronger say is up to individual's karmic pattern.
Tene tenda chikteres. Tene matsebe chikte nangba se chadu. Tene chedan ke chi gi tin khase gore kunzobla khanga tema go ba chiki shuji khan suge tende chik tebet tedan ganda yimba sori shibi sig do wafte tende tsawani ne mares. Kunzobla ne matemba tambe tene to menjur so mares. Te son za indu penan khase gore nanghe khoranda 쭝에 khoranda niga kansu zembal choto ba jida tende sine 고기여라 봐. 배나 답변은 코스가 어느 낭백이 추게 파로보드 쭈미토 바드 가레스가 봐. 디스드 데 파로보 코란 군조 부딩도 내 대버져 봐. 디스 혼자인데 데 간다 임반다 버지 근데 제샤나 근데 추도 가서 오래 찍 이신다 버지 파 찍了 진짜 바도 오늘 그 내로든 로투고요 말했어.
And the other thing is, if one does anything with genuine compassionate mind, that will benefit others, whatever it is. That one does wholesome action done with genuine compassion will have in whatever way beneficial effect. Just one simple thing what His Eminence like to say is, again, when we talk about Buddhism or Buddhists, Buddhism and Buddhist is not at the exclusion of relative reality. In fact, in the teaching itself said, through understanding of relative reality, through seeing relative reality, that you understand and realize absolute meaning. Absolute. So, then it's like some very mystical or some very out of the world, in that sense, thing taking place here, that is Buddhist or Buddhism, outside of realities of life or relative reality, not at all. That makes the Dharma less profound, not more profound. If you take it out of the world and thinking it's something else that you couldn't use where you are living, then the other thing is, in terms of benefiting others, effect, the power to benefit others, you have to realize the other person, see, you who have understanding or certain insight of the Dharma, and your relationship to the other person. The other person is involved in the truth of the relative reality. His or her truth and the meaning is in the relative reality. Until an understanding happens that relative reality is only relative in the sense simply pathway towards understanding absolute meaning, then there is no openness.
Oh yeah.
When you say that all teachers give the same teaching, how do you understand the differences between different schools of Buddhism? Like, not only the middle kind of Gachi, but Theravada Buddhism, Mahayana, or school of Nagasha. Different ways of understanding emptiness. How do you understand those differences? Space
당부르하다. 그거는 데스테임바. 테니베나 송힌 찍히야. 송주 찍송이나요. 데 테니 된다 찍송이나 테니
고단 말로.
라.
고단 공예스.
고단 남고 여르신 코르틀이야. 테니 쑥 송난 상마 찍버렸다. 딜라네 제바면도 와.
자외 기테레스. 테니 원내기 된텔라. 타르두기 양탁베 된텔라. 베나 찍바 인고고요레스. 테니 베나 택바른 바 숨다고 지차샤나레. 다가는 신기 특생기 난공 차샤나레. 난 세바이나 간데 먹고 간데 인세나양. 테니 원내기 람티 타르두 나란소 짐발에 도치도 이말이스. 데 인도 테니 베나 코라 다음에 코랑 기땡도 다음에 뭐 코랑 겁나야 돼. 다가는 신기 전주 선배가 람라부 전에 다알레 신제브른 선배기 디스고야면도.
Yes, in essence, it should be the same. In that, yes, there are stages of path, and talk about Hinayana, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, or Tantrayana, and these terms. And at the path or the method that is being presented, at whatever stages of path method is presented, and from whatever angle the means of practice is presented, that essentially it should be the same in the sense that given one is talking in terms of the Buddha's teaching, that is, and meaning, words, and using the teaching, then in whatever way it is said or however it is said, the essential purpose is to undo the obscurations of mind or to become liberated of pattern of clinging. That's what it comes down to. To be more specific, maybe strictly from a Hinayana point of view, the approach may be how to develop egolessness of ego. So this may be the approach. And through having the proper view and through thus having the view...
베나 짐바 묘몽바 코랑경 랑신데 강이바 하고 왔지. 찍티 되네 하고 아마 세백 파 가세고 건네 받지. 택바 챔비오키. 택생 되네 나라도 상하게 봐주러 왔지. 뜻한다 들어왔어.
So from a strict Hinayana point of view is understanding egolessness, and therefore on the basis of that understanding developing egolessness. And from a Mahayana point of view, or from the Bodhisattva path, then along with the understanding of egolessness, that how you unfold, how you unravel the egoistic patterns through the practice of bodhicitta, developing of the mind of awakening, and so which is seeing that the root cause of confusion or ego clinging is then clinging to the notion of self-attachment and aversion towards others. So, through the practice of exchanging one for others, and through that. And then but still towards experience of egolessness. Then from the Vajrayana point of view, with understanding of the view of egolessness, of ego, and what obscures us from experiencing and recognizing egolessness is because of impaired or obscured outlook. Thus, cultivating through the means of pure outlook, such as through the practice of the different deities, which is simply means pure outlook. And then, through this means going beyond an experience of the nature of mind, which is absolute pure outlook.
대송자 든데스지도 되는 찍바르가 나왔어.
So, in essence, it comes down to the same. That sense.
We had a discussion this afternoon on the Dharma in contrast to the complete unfolding of Buddha nature. And I asked that question, and it was suggested that I ask you. And what I would like to understand further is when you talk about the inseparability of samsara and nirvana, I got the feeling that being in nirvana or achieving that stage of nirvana was still very limited, and that the experience of the nature of one's mind is limitless. But I didn't really know what nirvana was or how we should understand nirvana and what its exact limitations are.
다 냥엘은 데버스야지 여러봐. 냥엘은 데버스야데 쩌단기 다라 추주 dom시나 냥엘은 데버니 시와오 송도와스. 디송거 여레스. 냥엘은 데버니 시와오 송도 가송거 여레스나 데네 빼나 코로와당 냥엘은 데버니 타데돈 짐베기 트르베기 똑바 가이임바티 시와텔라 데네 냥엘은 데바스 진 밍다버레스.
Korwata.
답변은 코로와타 냥엘은 데버스 타데돈 짐베기 트르베 똑바지 여러봐. 디 시와암 다 코란 초 텔레 초와 가이임바 텔라 냥엘은 데바스 진 밍다버레스.
Tene mjde labdu khande lawan shesamanash.
어.
Te korwata nyangelen deba nyinti. Tene
타데돈 짐바.
thade din zimba.
코로와 레세야지다 냥엘은 데버 레세야 타데 냥엘은 데버니 시와오 송야지 여러봐. 냥엘은 데버스도 톱주 여바지게 냥엘은 데버스 진 순거 매 순거 여러봐. 냥엘은 데버스게도 가르세나 데 냥엘은 데버 레세 센수 줍주제당 데 코와 레세네 파방주 가야 매베게 데네 코랑게 대다비게 출베 똑바 가인바티 데네 시와 다티 코란 dü니 시게 여러봐. 다 코란 레레신도 시바이나 데네 르베게 람테도 자네 데네 베나 람레를 장바나 신게 데네 출베 똑바 텐조나세
Nyintögi tenen
데마레
nyangte.
년토가 냥데다 다음에 또 보zam지기 코란 심 시월 내버 zam지기 쓰게요. 아데 시와도 냥한데 시와스 디스게요 말아. 근데 니 타데든 짐베 똑바로 쳐와텔라 시와텔라 쓰게요. 그래서
Tene ta morang sudu tanda onati morang kawatliya tene ta nyangelen deba sana tes chikpa. Ya ina chik tadong sem granshin tobale mawa chimba chik.
말에
Kwa
냥엘은 데발라 낭세기 야와 망부요레
nase.
년도라야 냥엘에 베나 자준베근 데발라야 년도 자준 년도기 냥엘은 데발레 잔주 셈발라야 렘베렘베기 냥엘은 데발레 냥엘은 데바스는 찌단게 코랑게 깝던티게 데부 가인베도 토바들 냥엘은 타르도 냥엘은 데바데 시와스야 데송요레스
Tesudu tene konde nying tene tokbata chala.
콘데니 타데도 레 삼야지단 찍레 삼베 또 똑바 투베 똑바 가인베 시와데 어제 찌단 냥엘은 데바 망부 연구레스
The term nirvana is used in many different contexts. So, which is given the context, it has a particular meaning. And in the simply in the context of in the Hinayana, the experience of arhatship is referred to as nirvana. And then in the bodhisattva path also, the different stages of the bodhisattva path could be referred to, certain stages of nirvana. And so But
tene rangjal dajum ina rangjal dajum rangjal dabaji ina rangjal dajum thi korangi nirvana
Nyendo
res
rajum na nyendo
rangjal dajum
Asa.
nyentuela nyen dajum badi nyentu gi nirvana re
Asa.
nyangel endeavor re tendes res
So within within the Hinayana, and we talk about Sharvaka and Pratyeka, and if one is has experienced Arhat, Sharvaka, Arhat, then that Nirvana in there's is in connection with that stage of realization. And if it's Pratyeka Buddha Arhat, then Pratyeka Buddha Nirvana. So, but when in the context of the seals of the Dharma, where it says Nirvana or liberation is peace, and in Tibetan, peace or Shiva is peace. Why it's a peace is that Nirvana is used in a sort of absolute sense. So Nirvana is peace, or liberation is peace in the sense that it is beyond the conceptual thinking or notion of clinging to nirvana and samsara as separate, or beyond the notion of clinging to samsara and nirvana as one. Beyond both is referred to as nirvana as peace. So, which is in relationship to the complete uprooting of obscuration of mind.
this on the shiva still song yo res that trube tetabu ki toba shiva
So, peace is in reference to the complete elimination or clarifying of obscurations of mind.
My question has to do with this morning's discussion about the animate and inanimate. I'd like to know on a relative level one does discern whether something has consciousness as a mind or not. For example, does a plant have consciousness? Like a plant has shown to have some feelings, and so it's sentient in some way. Does it have a consciousness?
거성배
Yes.
가서
다 다지 저거든 야. 심 유메 남시 시바 유메 그러봐. 팅 드네. 뭐 텐들라야 시바 요말 베스게. 뭐 카실. 뭐 카실 서로 요레스. 드네 시바 요말 베스게. 하바도 독스도 베는 게 제단 티 예술 치는 드네. 다 텐데 싱로 텐데 망보 파 무조 잡았던 카츠 바다 텐데스젠 제외다 로주 tenen ko je yang mar kup tendel che ten ta konzo tende tenal delta sheba yo ten sorba yo bete ten sheba
따뜻한 게 시행인 윈도우스 디다 간지 칼리 전 낭보다 체력이 깨지시는 쟤는마도 등에 뭐를 쉐바 요레스 메시 마레스 메시스 등에 ngalnge만 망부생에 주스 등아 가가
This particular thing about plants, feelings and so forth, what is most preferable to His Eminence is he would like to be able to sit down with some scientists and then talk in detail, and who has consciousness, who doesn't have consciousness, and who has feelings and who don't have feelings, and who has feelings of pain and who has feelings of unhappiness.
가르스는 디콜 망부 텐데스에 준등에 하고 윈도우스 디콜 탱한 텐데스 랑메 망부 주스
A number of people has asked His Eminence the similar things, but he would like to be able to sit down with certain, what they call plants pathology? No. Huh? Whatever, he would like to be able to sit down.
다 제단계 나서 벼다 가서 그래. 샤초스나에 근데 벼 다티 가서 그래. 제단 산에 샤베이나 뱀부터는 시작이요. 시에바요 시작이요. 근데 직전은 베네딕트리 때는 하마고 있어요.
능백이
남배가 던데 뱀마라. 싱 뱀부터 시작이요라마도 딘나라 베나 카시 냐와 녀선 연구서야 된대 돈에
답변은 뒤에 뭐들이야 대화단동 당는 셰바 유면은 대화동 행기더니 용어 유면봐
디스게 여러 시자다 베나 콘테스 디스게 동안 장애 미슬레이션 디티드 레인데 베쳐다 베트단 베메시게 여러스네 디스게 동안
맞아요.
어땠어
from where His Eminence comes from, and plants don't have consciousness, and
직선은 리토탄 면도
la,
직선은 사토탄 면도
that's maybe because altitude is too high. But and also maybe because we don't have all the technological advancement to examine the consciousness of the plant. No, so he doesn't really feel he could say anything that would be particularly meaningful until he has sat down and heard it well. He is not saying yes they have, no they don't have. Just until he has chance to sit down with those who are expertise in this particular field.
근데 디파도 라스촌음 탐지 세미든 둠베젤라랍도네스 누발라 샤샤기요스
Until that time, and says all dharma is about mind, and it is how you hold with your attitude. Pardon?
The Buddhism, they make how do you determine whether something is consciousness or not?
테는 능백이 테니 셰바 유멘데 딱지 컨디션이 지그래서는 셰바다 뱀번이기 빠르고 딱지 컨디션 그래서
디스 그레스 낭베기 로직 톤이시나 도도 주베기 뱀뷰팅이 시작 그레스 하고송아 아니 사신 릭바데 셰베팅이 시작 그레스
in Buddhist logic, that which is in the form of particles is inanimate. No, that which is in the form of particles, like atoms, molecules, whatever. And that which is clear and self-seeing is consciousness.
뱀시니기 예와디 티시아 그레스 아니 뱀보 마이바 셰바 마이바 데민 두지세야 타나 쇼깅이라 근데 뱀보야 마이바 셰바야 마이바 니디 디 반난라부 데민 두지
That which is neither animate or conscious beings and inanimate matter, that which is neither of the two, space.
I have two questions from this. You mentioned the four veils of obscuration, and you also talked about how the four seals of Dharma overcome them. Could you explain a little more about how the four seals of Dharma overcome the four veils of obscuration? And the second part is that in terms of path, with sentient beings,
In terms of?
path,
Mhm.
in sentient beings, when we're involved in afflations, you mentioned that there is the path of accumulation, which I take to mean the accumulation of wisdom and merit, and the path of application. I would ask the question, could you delineate the path of application a little more for us?
당부값으로 추지 돔 시티 베나 sakze 탐제 베나 메다발 딱벤 두시지 여러봐 당부 베나 대월라 kain goch duje thamje medakba takban zimbati tene sa chu duje thamje medakba yimba chu yimbal tene benatan ngobro chuba yina thamje du cheba yimba da medakba yimbal ten dogyo res tene sagje thamje dungawa seyaji yorba sagje thamje dungawa seyati tandati zo tene sibe de
Thì ta 제 런신 동바인 발라야 되니
mengo
다도 좀 봐.
당보 많이 거 당보냐 당보티 다 맹한테 최주 dom실 잔 시에가 요거
무슨
티체인도 고름데스 투도 그러봐 배나 당보티 두제 탐제 메닥바 송어로 봐 두제 탐제 메닥바 송바 되게 강한 게 예불 줄고 열었으나 되네 메닥발라 딱변 두시 임문들 바텔라 누구 요래
내가 봐다.
메닥발라 딱바레 삼바티 냠불 즈바티 되네 두제 탐제 상제 탐제 동아와세야티 단다 세베게 대와라 세베 동알틀라 되네 대원 즈베게 셴바테 도바 대세인도 되네 로와릭 투기 심제 탐제 동알기랑시 임바다 텐조 다 삭바데 제바 탐제 동알기랑시 임바다 텐조 다 동알 숨지랑시 임바다 템바테 세게 얼어봐 되네 최 탐제 동시 다음에 봐서야 되게 되네 사회게 되네 딘니디 단두고 요래 단다 다음에 봐라 다든 좀 바탕 되네 뭐부 탐제를 참으면서 봐 딘니디 두고 요래 최 탐제 동시 다음에 봐 될 때네 되네 대 탐제를 용스타고 또 양양는데 봐 다도 시와 양양는데 봐 디시 레버로 봐 양양는데 봐 레버로
되는 숨바디야 닐이야.
두고 요래
네.
동바탕 다음에 봐라 다든 좀 바텔라 다음에 봐 곰바탕 최 탐제를 운두제 탐 뭐부른 좀 바텔라 되네 동바 당신 동바
The first among the four seals of the Dharma, all compounded things that phenomena are impermanent, and the obscuration, entered the obscuration of clinging to the notion of permanence of things. Impermanence, antidote for permanence. And from the point of view of confusion, permanence. And then from the point of view of wisdom, seeing impermanent nature of things as impermanent. And then the second one is what is somebody literally said is, all tainted things are suffering. Meaning, what the mind holds as happiness when it is suffering is tainted. And this is in relationship to six realms of existence. And then, as we have talked about, in relationship to the three types of pain, or three types of suffering. And experience is suffering, yet that experience of suffering is held as happiness, tainted by. And so that until there is understanding that this is suffering, as long as it is held as happiness, one would continue to suffer. And so the antidote for the freedom, becoming free from the obscuration of the sufferings, three sufferings. And then the third one is all dharmas or all phenomena are devoid of self-entity. Therefore, nature of all things are emptiness and egoless. And this antidote for the other two, clinging to the notion of self and the reality of self, and the solidifying of phenomena and imposing conceptual reality on them, therefore the ego of phenomena, dharmas. So all dharmas are devoid of self-entity or egolessness, thus
다또
being
단다 덴저기 춘이 임바 당 주담지 덴저기 춘이 덴저기 나와 임바 당 데네 마세베게 당 알아도 음악에 릭바 망보여 즉 도저게 릭바 생다 음악에 릭바라 떼네 하고서와 당한테는 다가나 신기 변하다 간사게 당면 다안더버지나 데네 다생에 대치를 여버다 나를 여버 데네 그 토네 전에 다 다음에와 당 주담지랑 심마르고 동번이다 조응하나도 셔럽지 바로 침발 떼네 데네 땡라 파바티게 데네 단다티 주바 니디 도고요래.
So, the all nature of all dharmas, all things egoless, and this from the Madhyamika point of view, then simply with regard to phenomena, how they exist interdependently. What exists interdependently lacks true existence, independent existence, self-existence. So in this way, emptiness nature of phenomena, lacking true existent nature of phenomena. Then with regard to the notion of I and self, then I, is it outside, in terms of Madhyamika logic? Is it outside? Is it inside? Where is it? How is it? And so forth. And through that, clinging to the notion of something existing that inherently lacks true existence. So, the two obscurations, antidote for the two obscurations. And so, then, having thus clarified the four obscurations, then nirvana is peace, in the sense. Then, with relationship to the natural, undistorted nature of mind, which is free of contradiction and free of conceptualization.
저니වත් 가인고.
라,
저니වත් 가서 그.
니바테 테네 카인고 다 단다 촐람탕 촐람 지겨르반 테네 다수주 녀몽 키 단다 티님 다 녀몽 그쳐봐 빵왕게 쳐돌라 테네 람 촐람다 촐람 송제스라 다 촐람 세베캅레 페제 코나스나 소놈다 이테네 이식 토사고 테니야 인데레스입니다 스베스 티나 테네 촐람스나 강질 고유는 티데스 세시
초람생에데 조 레스 데니 단다티 믹제 수놈지 초 스두다 베나 초 베다 테다 다 드런탄베게 네로암 튜니 대신이데 똑발라 데네 초 사발라 소바다 드바장발라 소바데 상마 초남 루요레스 졸람 세야데 응스 칸스게 요르스나 데니 베나 수놈지 초 점질라 마임바 데니 텔라 데니 베나 밍메 이시 초 베나 응스 동번이게 더 똑바 마이나야 데니 동번이 더 똑발라 응스 조워 제바 데니 타니와 다카스 우리 초더버지 베나 초더버지 사바이네 데라 밍메 이시 초게 예답이온드 데니 응스 동번이 똑바 마르데 동번이라 똑발라 녀와 조워 제베나 존엄스네 세요레스
데는 촐람데 졸람 레기로와
소람디 타치도 그런게 촉사 되바장야 되래 조람 세야티 데네 칸체네 조르스기 조람 세기 요르세나 데네 똥번이 네로로 똥버 제발라 데네 타 녀와 조어 제발 근데 다 가능했으는 개원러버지 주변 있는 양 근데 초직네 개와주버도 초직네 데코나야 가서 오래 지바코나나 로투고요 봐 대손자 대라 데네 똥니기 제담니 또 똥번이라고 조어 제발 됐어요 봐 똥번이 건발라서 그거네
Yes, the path of accumulation is the accumulation of merit and wisdom, and
디 룽아기 반나 룽아가 초점지 많이 봐. 근데 샘주기 띵도 냠수 내는 띵엔저는 반 대코난 얘기 된 똑바로 줘와 타니와.
so accumulation is part of accumulation more strongly emphasizes, of course, involvement of mind, more strongly emphasizing the participation of body, speech, and in the accumulation of wholesome actions, therefore developing sense of richness or accumulation of merit, and some developing some personal sense of richness, fullness in that sense, accumulation of merit. And then the purification of defilement is also part of accumulation. And the whatever gross habitual patterns, particularly in the way of deprivations, in the way of the conflicting emotional patterns of thought, towards the diminishing of the degree and the intensity and habit of such accumulation. And part of application are also sometimes known as part of linking. This is joining the part of application, the part of accumulation, being joined by the understanding of emptiness. Making the attempt to join it by the understanding of emptiness and trying to orient oneself, at least, towards non-referential, non-conceptual experience of mind. Even though it may only be an attempt, one may not have the experience, or simply working towards cultivating. Because if the path of accumulating of merit, purification of defilement, is simply limited to itself, not joined by, then that could also, one could develop strong clinging to accumulation. So it might be joined by the wisdom of emptiness. The wisdom of emptiness, or non-referential wisdom, in that trying to cultivate the mind of, experience of, beyond subject, object, and act of performing. So joining, part of joining or linking in that sense. Yes, okay, we conclude here for now. Chidra Chambada, Kundo Sambo, the Gawan, the Kyunyu Mindro Dambe Jalam Dang, Gendum Jendum Benjana,
저다른 거와 뭐는 넘버는 주지 콜을 잡다들 엠바 자주소 원소로 용도 그러잖아. 봐서 쓰더라네 이제